Welcome to Tea Time with Karen. I'm your host, Karen Wright, and today I'm going to talk to you about the blue zones. I don't know if many of you know about the blue zones, but we're not talking, this is not elections, this is about centenarians. So the blue zones are communities where there's a high percentage of people who live to 100 or above. And there's, I think it's 5 regions in the world that have been identified as having a high number of people who live that long, and each community has their own diet, but there are certain things that they do that is similar to each of the communities. Like, for example, they'll eat until they're about 80% full instead of feeling stuffed and gorged. The smallest meal of the day is the late evening or early afternoon meal. Their diet is mostly plant-based with a lot of beans and very small portions of meat if they eat it, maybe 3 to 4 ounces, and that would be maybe a few times a month, so it's not on a daily basis and it's not every week. And then very moderate alcohol if they drink maybe 1 to 2 glasses a day. So the areas that have this, there's a place in Greece, in Japan, Italy, California, and Costa Rica. In Greece, the diet is a Mediterranean diet, which we've heard a lot about, but they eat a lot of like potatoes, goat's milk, lots of legumes like garbanzo beans, black-eyed peas, lentils. They'll eat some greens, fruit, and small amounts of fish. And this is in Greece, it's in Ankara, Greece. You can look up blue zones and you can find out more. They eat feta cheese, which is traditional Greek food. They every day will have a tea with herbs, sage and marjoram. And lamb is something that people hear with Greece, but they don't really eat a lot of lamb. They occasionally will eat goat meat, but not that often. So that would be the typical diet in Ankara, Greece. Then we have Okinawa, Japan, and I apologize if I pronounce that wrong. And that actually has the highest rate of centenarians in the world. And they used to have a more traditional diet where they ate a lot of seaweed, turmeric, sweet potatoes, rice, milk, and some meat. But since 1949, they've changed that a bit, but they still eat something from the land and the sea every day. And staples in their diet would be bitter melons, tofu, garlic, brown rice, green tea, and shiitake mushrooms. So they also have, a very plant-based diet. The interesting area is Sardinia in Italy, and here the ratio of centenarian men to women is 1:1, and this is quite unusual. Usually for every 5 women there's 1 man living that long, so here you have a ratio where they're even, so that's unusual. They eat a lot of the sharp cheeses from grass-fed sheep, and they actually are shepherds in this country, so they obviously will eat the sheep products, but the sheep and the milk, they have high levels of omega-3 fatty acids. And they eat about 15 pounds of cheese per year on average, and they eat that with like flatbread or sourdough bread and barley. And they also get lots of fennel and fava beans, chickpeas, tomatoes. They drink milk thistle tea, which is good for the liver, and it's just unusual because studies have shown that milk thistle in the form of tea is not as beneficial as the standardized extract. But here is a community that's living to 100, and they are drinking milk thistle tea on a basis. So in the US, we actually do have a region. It's in California. It's Loma Linda, California, and it's a group of Seventh-day Adventists, and they don't drink, they don't smoke, dancing, they don't do TV is avoided, they don't pay attention to, they don't go to movies, they don't pay attention to most of the media. You know, they don't have those distractions like we have, and they eat a lot of tofu. They're mostly plant-based diet. They have the lowest rate of diabetes and heart disease in the US. And they follow like a biblical diet focused on grains and fruits, nuts and vegetables, and they only drink water. Some of them do eat a small amount of fish and meat, but that's few, very few. And their sugar is taboo. And the interesting thing is the pesca vegetarians, those that eat the fish, actually live longer than the vegans. So they're having that little fish, they actually, the centurions live longer than not having the fish. Like I said, sugar is taboo, except for they will eat fruits and dates and figs. So they don't have any refined sugar in their diet, no soda, because they only drink water. And then the last group is in Costa Rica. And here you have like your lots of rice and beans with cheese and cilantro and corn chips, and it's usually topped with an egg. So they have the three things: beans, corn, and squash is big. They eat papayas and yams, bananas. They have this fruit called peach palm, which is a fruit native to Central America, and it's very high in vitamins A and C. So those are your communities where people live to 100, and if you see, you know, what I said about the diet, it's very plant-based, eating a lot of the native local food, having lots of herbs that are protective, and also eliminating stress. Like the shepherds are out, they're doing passive exercise, so they don't have all the stresses that we do, and which is a good thing. And they're living to 100. So if you want to find out more, look up the Blue Zones, and I will see you tomorrow on Tea Time with Karen. Have a great evening.